Alrighty, look at this week and how this week has gone for me. I've not been too active in my Telegram channel. You can check it out. I'll scroll through it afterwards. I usually share my trades in it. Here's my FX book. I'm not logged in at the moment, but I've been showing it every week, so you know this is mine. As you can see, there's a bunch of trades and whatever. I'm giving back some of the money I've made on this big gain, but not too much. It's not too bad. As you may know, I am experimenting with a new approach, and so I'm sizing pretty small, which is also why I'm not going into the Telegram as much, because they are all very experimental trades, and I'm still figuring it out and finding my way with it. So how's the stats look? Well, I've lost 21 bucks, almost 22 bucks this week, which is totally okay for me experimenting with it. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I seem to have a better knack for the setups and how they are showing up. So for example, here's GJ. That is a trade I wanted to take. I closed it early. So I went in somewhere up here. It pushed against me multiple times. It was not a super clean setup. And it finally then went down and hit my profit target. So I missed out on that. Probably lost some money on it as well. UC, we'll go over that. That's a great trade I've been in for weeks now. And then here we go. What is this? This is gold. I wanted to short gold. And then I closed it again. Like it looked like it was stalling here around the support. So I closed it with a small profit. It went further down. Could have made more money on it. Again, kind of a reoccurring theme now. It did spike up afterwards back into my entry before it had a huge sell-off, which is what I was actually expecting. I can go over the chart real quick so you can see that as well. Because the profit target was actually hit on this. It was a large profit target. The reason I went into this trade was because it was ranging and it started to build a larger range at the top of the channel. It was broken out above the channel. And I thought there's just a very decent chance that this thing is going to revert. So rather taking very, very long. Let me go back to Telegram while that finishes loading. And then what else we have? GU, it's the same story. It actually hit profit target. I got in. It was a very beautiful setup. 3 pushes up. I started shorting here. It pushed against me. I decided to close it with a small loss, and then it just dumped, and it went way beyond my profit target. Very nice trade. Setup was good. I recognized it. I mismanaged it, unfortunately, so I didn't make any money on it. Here we go. This is actually gold I want to show you. So you can see I closed somewhere up here. It went down, spiked back up, had 2 pushes up into it, and then a huge sell-off down. It hit the profit target and went beyond it. Very nice trade. Unfortunately, I was not on board. I could have, and I probably should have actually re-entered on this push up during the US Open when the US came online, and I didn't. So that was a mistake from me. This mismanagement here is not actually too bad. You can even argue that that was an appropriate decision to make because he was stalling here. So, you never know with what's going to happen. Closing it down here most likely wouldn't have happened. So I would have started closing it probably around the same area that I've closed it anyways. But then going back in would have been a very good idea for me to open this. Anyways, then we will keep going. BTC, yeah. So this is something I haven't actually mentioned. I am looking for setups, and I'm trying to find those setups across various assets. So I'm not sticking to Forex anymore. I'm looking at crypto. I'm looking at Forex. I'm looking at gold. I'm looking at oil, and I'm looking at various instruments and seeing if I can find those setups across the instruments. This was a really, really good textbook setup as well, where you have a nice consolidation. You have a push up, you go short up here, and it dumps. I only put this in. I didn't miss it. I put in the this tool because I haven't traded Bitcoin in a long time, so I wanted to just see how it goes, and it would have worked out really well as well. As you can see, so this is all hope, like you can see that I'm starting to find the proper setups. I can identify them. I'm mismanaging them at the moment. We're not taking the trade, but it is looking pretty promising. Same thing with crude oil. I had a nice setup here. I didn't take it because, again, I'm not used to crude oil. It hit my profit target before it reverted. Again, very nice trade. I could have made a good amount of money. All right, so that's pretty much all of the trades that I've been experimenting with, and you can see it is looking pretty promising. There are also a bunch of false starts that I have tried, which is why I've lost money overall. But they also have come from some of the mismanagement. So it is not totally settled. You may have the impression after seeing this, like, hey, looks like he's got it pretty much figured out. Now it's just a question of being, executing it more and getting the management under control. And yes, it does look that way. And at the same time, I do have still false starts and not reading the chart appropriately for these kind of setups. Now, if you're wondering where am I learning those kind of setups from, they are from Stacy Burke. You can check him out, Stacy Burke Trading on YouTube. I found him pretty difficult to follow. It took me a few weeks to wrap my head around what he's teaching. His more recent videos have been quite helpful. I did get his playbook or whatever. You can check that out as well. But it takes a good amount of studying, and he uses concepts and has almost like compressed those concepts without pulling them appropriately apart in order to teach it. And so that has made it difficult to learn from him, but I have been able to learn from him, and we will see. It's an experiment whether this whole idea is going to take off or not. So anyways, with the UC trade that I have been in for ages now, you can see it's a spike pullback channel, the situation that we're in at the moment. I am planning to add around 398, which is up here. I'm like, I don't know, 10 positions into this at the moment or something like that. So it's a good amount, but the drawdown is pretty manageable. You can see on the weekly, we are right at the resistance zone here. This is a trading range. I would expect, or if this doesn't hold, meaning it breaks out and then trends beyond it, we see the next high, which is up here at, I think it is 146 or something like that. Let's pull it up. 146. And I can add at that place as well. Okay, so I've the session things in, whatever it is, all for Stacy's stuff. Let me just get rid of that. So this really is an example of you having to be able to size appropriately. If you're not sizing appropriately, you are just going to get freaking hammered with a DC approach if you run into something like, get rid of that as well. If you run into something like USD CAD, you're just going to get hammered. So anyways, here's on the daily. There's a bunch of stuff and studies I've done. Let me just close that. As you can see, so we have the spike, we have the channel, we're pushing above this high. This is where I want to add, but there's no bullish or bearish momentum showing. You need to break out of this channel that it's in to actually show any kind of bearish structure. We have it all the way at another high at 39785. I was considering adding at 1398. That was another place because of the channel structure. And then, as you can see here, this spike all the way up here, that is 1465, 1466, something like that. There's an area where I think a reversion is likely to occur as well. What I believe is more likely to occur than going all the way up here is that we are going to have a spike up, and it looks like it is breaking out of this trading range, and then it will revert back, triggering longs up here, people going long thinking this is now going to be a measure move up. But instead of that happening, we are going to have a reversion back and get people trapped. This is what I think is more likely to happen. Of course, the other scenario can happen, that we're going to have a breakout and we're going to go further and maybe have then a pullback here. And I'll be in pretty heavy drawdown by that time, but I'm okay with that. So this is something really important. If you're not sizing appropriately, you're going to get screwed so hard. Now, the other thing that is interesting to note, I don't trade the news, but you saw yesterday the non-farm payroll that came out for USD, which was horrible. But despite it being really bad, it had no impact whatsoever on USD CAD, which is, for some people, might be surprising. For me personally, I just don't like to study the whole news and whatever. But there are some theories that I entertain. They don't really inform my trading, but I thought maybe you'd be humored by them as well. I think we are having such a strong rally on the USD because it's pricing in a potential win of Trump, and Trump is talking a lot about tariffs, and that idea could, strengthen the dollar. Now, if you actually go and check out historical prices, when Trump was in office, his tariffs did not strengthen the dollar in any significant manner. We can actually just do this right now here, so you don't have to do it. He was, as you can see, all of this, 2020, he lost the election. All of this is during Trump's presidency. As you can see, the dollar was all over the place. It had weak moments. He had stronger moments. So this idea that his win would strengthen the dollar because of the tariffs and all of that, I think is misled. And I believe we are going to see a correction on this. We are going to see a mean reversion because of how strong it's been pushing up. You can just see here how strong it's been pushing up, and then it reverted again. And it's pretty much always the same. You get a strong push up, you get a reversion. You get a strong push up, you get a reversion. And that's exactly what I'm trading. The only thing I am somewhat sad about is that I am in a DCA trade rather than overextension trade, which I would not be entering this market until I see a high likelihood of it being really overextended on the higher time frames, like the daily or the 4 hour, and then entering a trade with much heavier sizing. I would rather prefer to be in a trade like that than a DCA trade. But I'm in a DCA trade, so maybe I'll be sizing much more heavier once I actually see appropriate price action that indicates that this is going to revert. But we will see. Because of course, if I'm sizing heavy and I'm wrong, then it can blow the account. Okay, so the current amount that I've calculated, I can go all the way past that high and be okay. But that is provided I'm not adding more size into it, especially not heavy size. I mean, just look at this. It's all just bull bars, bull bars, bull bars. That's the spike. You have some bear bars here, and then you have bull bars again in the channel. It is a bit less steep as this one, and it's more channel-like. Well, it still looks like a breakout, just a second leg, really. On the daily, it looks a bit different on the 4 hour, the 1 hour. So am I freaked out? No. I've said before I want to size out of this before the election, and I have done some research on that and looked at the various election times, and there was not really that much of a spike going on with the elections. So I'm not worried about the elections. It may spike around, which is fine. I have plenty of margin left. I have plenty of room for navigating this, but I'm not trying to size out of it. I believe I can get out of this with a decent or even a big profit, because if you get a very good reversion on this, I should be making multiple $100, maybe even more, depending on how much I can add into it when there is a sign of reversion. Then it may even be a very profitable trade of making me $1,000. We will see. Only time will tell. It is too early to say. Until then, I will continue experimenting with the Stacy Burks approach and see if I can make that my own. The reason, I think I've mentioned this before, why am I doing this? I want to get away, or no, I don't want to get away. I want to supplement my higher time frame trading with overextensions, like something like UC, where I risk a large amount of money, or GU. If you have been watching this channel, you know I've made a huge win on GU. I sized appropriately. It was pretty heavy. I made a 20% gain on the account. These setups are really nice. They work out really well. However, they only occur once or so per month. So if I only get an opportunity once or so per month, if I want to live with this, I need to risk 5 to 10K per trade, which is a lot for me at the moment to do that. Also, the feedback loop for these trades and having more data to evaluate it and evaluate whether it can justify a higher sizing on these trades, like 5 to 10K. I need to see more data, but it only happens once a month or so. Then I don't have enough data to evaluate it appropriately, and hence I'm hesitant adding more size to it. So instead, what I'm doing is I'm looking at Stacy Burke's approach, and the way he works is he works with setups. He looks at the week, how the week sets up, and there's the various templates that he uses, and he's in and out of a trade within the day. He only trades at the certain hour of the day or hours. He uses sessions, and so he often is active in the New York session. And if the trade sets up, it's usually done within an hour to 2 hours, and then he's out. And because these trade setups seem to be repeatable and they seem to be occurring across various asset classes and instruments, and you get good at recognizing them, you can put on more size with them. Now, one thing that is more difficult for me is that he's operating with a very tight stop loss. Like something like USD CAD, he would probably use a stop loss of 15 pips or something like that. I am using, especially on the large sized ones like GU, I'm using hundreds of pips for a stop loss. I'm using 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. He uses a risk reward ratio of 1-to-3 to 1-to-5 to even 1-to-10. So it's a very different approach to mine. And then on top of that, he's using levels to identify various trade opportunities like previous day's highs and lows. I'll give you a very quick download on that. I'll make a video when I actually have a better grasp on it. So everything I'm saying here, take it with a grain of salt. I'm still learning, okay? So previous day's highs and low, we will do that. Session boxes, so you can see that as well. And then we'll go to the 50-minute. That's what he uses, is usually the 50-minute chart. Here we go. All right, and then you would have the session breaks inside, the day breaks inside as well. So here's where day ends, and then this blue line is the previous day's high, and this is the previous day low. And you have those little boxes here, which basically are indicating the sessions of Asia, and then usually just the morning, so not the entire day, just the morning, 3 hours or 4 hours or so. And you'll see how price moves within these session windows, and you are looking to find a setup within this specific timing to then get a trade, right? So for example, you could say, I mean, this is not gonna, I haven't studied USD CAD with this specific idea in mind. And I don't see necessarily a setup here. You could say there's 3 pushes up and then sell off, but that's not going to do him justice. What he does a lot is he looks at 3 days, 3-day templates. The main idea of him is a pump and dump or a dump and pump, meaning something has moved up a lot, it consolidates, and then you get a sell off back to the low, or it has dumped a lot and you have a consolidation and it moves up. There's various variations on that. There's different ideas that he has. There's a lot of nuance to his approach, but it is attractive to me because I would like to supplement my approach with a short time frame approach, because I can get in and out of a trade within a day. I can potentially make if I were to risk $50 on a trade, I can make $150 with a 1-to-3 risk reward ratio, or even $500 if I manage to get a 1-to-10 risk reward ratio, which of course doesn't happen all the time. But I will get a lot, or I do get a lot quicker feedback on my approach, whether it is working. Can I identify the setups? Can I execute the setups appropriately? Can I manage the trade appropriately? What needs more refinement? So there's a lot more that feedback that I'm getting much quicker. And if I actually manage to pull this off and I can manage a similar risk to reward ratio, it can be a very profitable approach. If I just get a few good setups a week, if I get a 3-session setup, 2 or 3 a week, and I make a decent amount on that, then this looks more scalable, and I'm willing to put more money into it than the current approach, because it takes so long for me to evaluate it appropriately. So far, it seems to be very lucrative. It seems to be very profitable, the approach of overextensions on the higher time frames, but it's slower. And so with this, hopefully, I have another approach that I can use to then grow the account and to provide for my family, which is ultimately the goal with this whole thing that I'm doing, right? So anyways, you can come to Telegram. I will be more active once I have figured out this approach more, and I'll post my entries and all of that. At the moment, I'm not using it as much as before because I am using a more experimental approach, and I don't want to put too much, information, as in, spamming the channel with too many trades in there. But I do sometimes update and say, look, these are the trades I planned, this is what worked out, and let people know what I'm working at. So hopefully it will be beneficial for you. Now in the future, I will be posting my entries and exits as well in the trade, so it is worthwhile to actually come over to it. I will leave the link in the description below or in the comment section. If you've got a question, you can ask it below. You can hit the subscribe button and a little like button if it's been useful. Share it with someone if you think they will be benefiting from that. And I will see you on the next one. Take care. Have a good weekend.